We're going to begin recording. Welcome. I hope everyone had an incredible week. I'm not sure how big the group will be this week, but there are some people that are having issues joining in. So while people join, can I have someone just, Alison, do you have any announcements or anything that you want to share, or do you want to hear some wins from people?
Oh, that would be lovely. I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
Some.
Okay, Shanti, or do you want to share a win? What's it been like being in the chapter 6 this week? Oh, I have to unmute you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
You can just ask her to, and she has to do it on her side.
I invite
Shanti, you. Yeah, but you still have to do it. There you go. Good job.
I did it.
Hi.
Okay. Hi. How's everybody?
So good.
Can you hear me? Good. Good.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a win necessarily from chapter 6, but probably a little bit more in general from the whole concept. I'm finishing up a divorce, and my ex came on Sunday to gather up all of his belongings from the house. And I was really nervous about it because we are not on very good terms right now. And I wasn't quite sure if I was going to be able to practice some of these concepts. And I was, and it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I felt like overall the whole situation was a win because of the way I was able to treat and respect him. And I think that surprised him a little bit.
Good for you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I felt really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Usually when something that different happens, men are of two minds. They can't not respond to how you're being right now because they're so sensitive to that, right? So right? And just reacted so instantly to being really looked at by Kimberly. But then afterwards they're kind of like, hope that lasts. And the more consistent we are, they pay attention to consistency. They can't help it. But the more consistent we are, then they begin to trust it. Oh, okay, this is how you are now. This is who you are now. Yeah. And it's really sweet what happens over time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good for you.
Thanks.
Nice. Nicely done. Okay, so Paige, do you want to take more shares or should I start answering questions?
Let's jump in. Let's start answering questions.
Jump in. Okay. Raise your hand. Everybody has a question. We're going to start there. I have a couple that were emailed in, but I was going to do that on the other side. So you can ask me about chapter 6, and you can also ask me about before chapter 6. So if you've gone on to chapter 7 or 8, don't ask me about that part. No spoilers. I don't see any hands up yet. Do you guys know how to do that in the reactions part of Zoom? The reactions part, there's an option called raise hand, and then it puts you the top of the screen for me. I don't have to hunt. We don't have anybody with questions yet. Okay, so Paige, I'll go to the ones that you emailed me. Well, people are thinking.
Great.
How's that?
Judith did just raise her hand. So if you want to answer
that
question and then go to the question.
Perfect. So yeah, I'll take the questions. There's also a couple of things that I want to let people know because of what shows up in chapter 6, some variations that could help. So we'll just play this by ear. So Judith, please. You have to ask her to unmute, but I think she changed her mind. Put your hand down.
No, there we go. Am I talking now?
You are talking now and I'm hearing you.
First of all, I just want to tell you how grateful I am for you.
Hmm.
It's affecting my life
Hmm.
beautiful way. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I'm a 78-year-old woman, right, whose husband died 7 years ago.
Okay.
And I'll say first, what I'm finding is, one, I never had that view of men, except when I had it, right? Except the moments I had it. But I'm wondering how to put this into practice in a way that I know how to define my own needs and what it provides. That was the biggest aha for me, is that I don't know that I can distinguish my needs or what it provides. So any clues in that direction?
Sure. Well, first of all, cool. You're 78. My best friend is 78. And so there's several ways to go about this. And so I'm going to start by giving you another word, everybody, another word that may help, that we discovered just a couple of years ago. And when I looked up need in the dictionary about 25 years ago, what it said was an urgent requirement of something. So an urgent requirement of something. So to need is to require. And we found that for many people, I require has less instinctual baggage to it. Maybe because it's a snazzier word. But as human beings, we're very hesitant to reveal needs. We don't want to be thought of being needy or being weak. We don't want that information to be used against us, which is why men won't divulge needs, because a need is a weakness and weaknesses can be used against you. And so very much, if you look at our instincts and our communication, it's very much in what I would call an adversarial paradigm. So we might become allies temporarily because there's some emergency we're facing together, but then we go back to basically being in a competitive environment with a view that there's not enough, that there's a scarcity of the things that we want. And so we're inherently competitive. And even if you look up survive in the dictionary, it says to outlive another. So survival is competitive, and we're naturally competitive, and you don't want to give your opponent any advantage. And so knowing what you need could be an advantage to an opponent in order to defeat you. So being afraid of being seen as needy, being afraid of being seen as weak, being afraid of a weakness being used against us, it's very hard for us to just get the words out of our mouth, I need. Julia's nodding her head and nodding her head. And we discovered, and I don't know if it was because of a translation thing that made it work, but I was working with a student in Panama, and what she wanted out of our work together was a divorce. And that might seem like an odd thing, but in Panama, it's a very tricky thing. Wives have no rights. Husbands can divorce them for any reason, and wives end up with not even a living kind of support. So she wanted a different kind of divorce. And every time she said to her husband, I need, because he was trying to keep her, every time she said, I need, he would go ballistic. And when she changed to I require, he could hear the whole sentence. He could even interact with what she said. He didn't have that reaction. And she actually ended up this whole thing turning out amazing just by shifting from I need to I require. Now, this was in Spanish. So when she shared that with me, I started sharing it with other people, and other people started to find some wiggle room, because I require is more obvious that there's a rest of the sentence. Even though it's the same, I need in order to, I require in order to. So to do my work week, like Karen, to do her end of the school year work week and not emasculate her husband, she requires, she actually requires not having to be accountable for food for that whole work week. So it's connected. And so that's a big part of the trick, Judith, is to connect the dots. And you can go backwards or forwards in order to do this. And in the course we have called Being Extraordinary as a Woman and Being Extraordinary as a Man, we go through a whole bunch of different lists and charts and processes that I found out one of them was put in your workbook from a very advanced course. But we do all these ways of looking at it in order to get the dots connected. So looking at what is it that you do in your life and who can you be because of that, and what you know you need, like sleep, and then what qualities does that give you to get it, and then even in reverse, what do you want to be? So Kimberly does this in chapter 6. She thinks about her date with Jack, and she thinks about how does she want to be? What qualities does she literally want to embody on this date? And one was grounded, and I forget the one in between, and the other was playful. And playful is not a usual thing for her. So she was looking to see what causes me to be that way. So when we start connecting needs or requirements to ways of being, honestly, it's a huge part of being a king. It's a huge part of causing ourselves as human beings, instead of just reacting to instinct and perceptions of threats and opportunities that we decide. We call it being great on purpose. We decide what we want to be, and then we set up our lives to cause us to be that. And part of the caveat is only that which is embodied will be there as a legitimate choice under stress. Stress activates instincts. Instincts are hardwired. So in order to have, for example, being generous or compassionate or patient or kind or creative, all of those we'll forget I forgot to be that. It always works to be patient with her, but I forgot to be that. Well, if you have patience embodied, like literally in your body, and you have a commitment to being patient just in life, you're willing yourself to be patient draws on the patience that you're containing, and you can be patient without even thinking about being patient. It gets magical, and it's something that we do quality by quality over time. And we encourage you to take 10 years to incorporate all this. So you can start, Judith, with qualities that you identify as. You could even ask the people who know you best, or your closest friends. So if you were going to describe my best qualities, what would you say they are? And then you check it against, oh, I didn't even know I was that. Or, yeah, when I'm that way, I really like being me. I like me when I'm that way. I feel like me and I like me. okay, that's a quality I want to cause. And once you figure out how to do it, that every quality you want to be, there are certain requirements that you have to embody it. And you can start searching for what those requirements are, because sometimes they aren't obvious. You literally can be great on purpose. Your definition of great, not somebody else's. So you can tell I'm passionate about this. I could talk about this for days. And so you can start with qualities you want to be, or you can start with things that you notice if someone wants you to give it up, Judith, that you have a reaction. What? Give up my walk? Give up my monthly hair color? Give up my time with my best friend? Give up sleeping in until 7 a.m.? Like what? Give up being in bed by 10? Whatever it is that you can tell, you go, that means you're in the realm of sacrifice, which means that not getting that need met, you're going to be sacrificing capacities. You're going to be sacrificing ways of being. So it's an early warning system. Wait a second, this is important. You need this. And over time, we'll end up being really resentful, and we'll end up pretending to be the quality that we could have been authentically. So, for example, patience is a quality that I embody from plenty of sleep. And if I have plenty of sleep for a whole day, I'll be patient without worrying about it. Now, it runs out. About 9 o'clock at night, it runs out. I have no more patience. So I have to get another good night of sleep. So we can start to know ourselves better. And some things we actually need to do something more than once a day. I know someone who their highest value is peace. And so she saw all the things that fill her peace tank, that put peace in her body. And except for one of them, they all just lasted half a day. So she rearranged her schedule. So she had her AM peace tank filler and then her PM peace tank filler. And by doing different things, because there were like 10 different things that gave her peace, by scheduling these into her life, her experience of herself and her family's experience of her was that she was continuously peaceful. She appeared continuously peaceful, just like as long as the car's got gas in it, it will appear functional. And so this chapter, and it's why I had it stand alone, like not combine it with 7 or 8. This chapter, honestly, you could just read it over and over again, listen to it over and over again, apply it to a different situation in your life. And the very simple instructions that Claudia gave them and how Karen and Kimberly are executing it could change everything. I mean, you literally, life isn't easy, right? And when my husband died 4 years ago, I had no idea. It was such a surprise. And I had no idea how grief could affect people. I had no idea how much it lights up the fear parts of the brain. And I just, because of what I knew about my capacities, I just kept paying attention to doing what would give me who I was committed to still being, even in that circumstance. And it's something that people have acknowledged me for. They've never seen anyone so consistently be who they said they were, even under that kind of stress. And it was by applying what we teach in chapter 6. Okay, good enough for now, Judy?
Very, very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I have a question about the needs as well, of like, if you go through and figure out what your needs are, and you kind of see how you can meet your own needs in all of the fundamental ways. I'm just wondering, like, I tend, and I don't know if this is a single thing, but I tend to look and see how, when I look at my needs, I just immediately see I can ultimately fulfill those needs. If I'm in charge of getting enough sleep, or I'm in charge of eating, drinking, sleeping, like my morning routine, like those kind of things. So I tend to talk myself out of asking for any needs to be met.
That is quite common. Whenever we discover a need, we're going to figure out how we can give it to ourselves. And for some of us, if we can't figure out how to give it to ourselves, we'll just live without it. But there's two parts of it. One is you may not be in control of as much as you think you are. So, for example, when I discovered the connection between sleep and patience, and I started testing it, the patience didn't kick in until 7 a.m. If I was woken up like at 6:45, no patience. It took the whole night and all those minutes up to 7 a.m. And so I told my children. And I think, so Jeff would have been like 7, I think, and then Claire 2, right? And I heard them outside my bedroom window. I heard Jeff say, shh, if we wait till it's a 7, she'll be patient. I mean, it was the best. It was like 3 minutes to 7, and he was just keeping her from knocking on the door or just barging into my room. And it was awesome. And then, so there's things like that. People can support you, right? In what you might be self-sufficient in. They can support you. It's another way, Judith, by the way, to find out what you need. You can ask other people, you know, what do you think I need? Oh, well, after you have lunch with Kathy, you're always so much happier. Oh, okay. What do I get from lunch with Kathy? My husband would pay for me to have lunch with Kathy. He would buy us lunch because of who I was afterwards. So you can ask other people. And then the other part page is what I would call high octane. So remember when I was talking about my student, her name is Suzanne, with the morning peace activity and the, PM peace activity. And I said everything with one exception only lasted a half a day. Well, the one exception was if she spent 2 hours making love with her husband, she was peaceful for 3 days. So that would be high octane. And sometimes that's what other people have, that there are things that we can do for ourselves, but a back rub from somebody who cares about you can fill so many more tanks than a massage that you paid for, or a conversation. I have a friend that I literally, if I need my freedom tank topped off, I can call her, she answers the phone, I say hello, she giggles, and I'm good. It's just, it's that powerful. I used to always call her on my way to doing interviews with Dennis Prager, just so I'd be free. And same thing with conversations with my dad. He filled my freedom tank so fast. So it's good to have a mixture. It's good to have a mixture of several different ways you can get a tank filled on your own, and then other options that you have that can last longer or can take less time or energy to do it, to have it work. And self-sufficiency is grand, but there are so many different, okay, well, here's another one. So oxytocin, right? In our Understanding Women course, we talk about the importance of oxytocin. And oxytocin gives women a sense of well-being. It allows us to connect and bond with other people. It allows us to care about them. And it also has a lot to do with orgasms, whether or not we can have them, whether or not we welcome an invitation for sex. It's very, very important. Well, oxytocin is created by rhythmic hand motions. So if you think of us being gatherers, historically, gathering, even like picking berries, picking seed heads, grinding, the seed heads of wheat into bread, the rhythmic hand motion of kneading bread, even hand washing dishes or wiping down counters, dusting, heck, ironing, vacuuming. There was a question about shopping. Shopping, when you have plenty of time to go shopping, you're literally in the meadow. You're in the store meadow. You're not hunting something that you desperately need, like a prom dress. That is not shopping. That is hunting. It's exhausting. But true shopping also builds oxytocin. So it's one of the things that fills us up, that contributes to our sense of well-being. Well, I finally connected the dots that this thing that Dan provides for me, and he invented it a year and a half ago, he calls it a lay down. And we literally, sometimes we have a sit down, but usually we lay down. We just get horizontal and we'll talk, we'll snuggle. Sometimes we fall asleep. But I realized that part of why I am so much better off, even if it's only 15 minutes, is that I am compelled to pet him. He's very furry, and it's the hair, I call it cashmere. It's so soft, and just like petting his arm. The whole time I'll just be petting his arm, or if he has shorts on, I'll be petting his leg. And I finally realized this is rhythmic hand motion. No wonder this makes such a difference. It doesn't matter how much time. I always have an enhanced sense of well-being. And then if I listen to him talk and this deep rumble out of his chest, and he could talk about anything. I pet, he talks. It's awesome. So keep looking for small things that make huge differences in how quickly they fill you up or how long it lasts afterwards. Those are both highly relevant. Okay, while we're on the topic, because Paige did give you a chart from Being Extraordinary as a Woman, or what used to be called the Queen Course years and years ago, I cannot guarantee that it's up to date from how long ago she did it. But it has a column, and it's called Keeping the Queen on Her Throne is the name of that chart, and has a column at the end of the chart where you write down the qualities you want to be and the needs when they're met. You fill up that tank and the amount of that you need and how long it lasts for. And then the last column says taken by. And so Paige told me one of the pods wanted to know what the taken by column is. And taken by, you could also say wipe out, if you remember that song, that surfer song. It means that no matter how you fill yourself up with that quality, there are things that can happen that will just wipe it out. So instead of it lasting a whole day, the patience, it could be gone in 2 seconds. And the things that wipe out our tanks they're often things that cause a primitive response. So one way we'd say it is cause a cavewoman attack. So things that occur as a threat. So being disrespected, for example, in the workplace could wipe out all you did to put yourself together to be able to be a queen in the workplace, to be productive and amazing at the same time, which is totally possible. But something in the domain of disrespect or a big disconnect, like a man raising his voice, that's scary to us. They don't understand why, but it can cause qualities to just drain out. Now, why that's on that chart, and so I'm just giving you bonus information now, use it, please. Why it's on the chart is once we're aware of what wipes us out, we can do different things about it. So when I figured out how much commuting wiped out or taken by for my capacities, I reduced commuting in my life and to almost nothing. and on my chart, the first time I filled it out, there were 4 places where the taken by was the name of a person that I worked with. Why did I keep working with this person that was so detrimental to me getting to be who I was committed to being? That was the beginning of us not working together. There are some things you can't change, but you could restore yourself from. Like I have a friend who her dad was in the hospital, and visiting him in the hospital would just wipe out her energy and her patience, which she needed for being with her very inquisitive son when he got home from school. And so she wasn't going to not go to the hospital. She wasn't going to eliminate that, but she realized she could restore herself. So after she visited her dad, she'd walk around the lawn-like park, the park-like lawn that many hospitals have. She would walk around it until she felt like herself again, until she was looking forward to seeing her son. And then she'd get in the car, pick him up from school, and have recovered. She could recover herself. So that's why that column is there, because it happens in life. And there's also release work that we teach in Lux and in Extreme Freedom that you can do on your taken bys, so that when they happen, they don't take anything anymore. You don't perceive them the same way. You don't experience them the same way. There's no threat in them. There's no hook in them. For example, being in control. People like to be in control. And when something happens and they're out of control, like an expectation isn't met, that should have happened. And then they're not their best selves anymore. And they'll often become disempowering to themselves and other people. So doing a release, for example, can you welcome being in control? Can you welcome not being in control? You do that until they're both meaningless. Can you welcome your expectations being met? Okay, now please welcome your expectations grossly unmet. The exact opposite of your expectation. Okay, now could you welcome them being met? And now could you welcome them being partially met? Could you welcome them being always met? Could you welcome them never being met? It's called holistic welcoming. And you can do it in so many different ways until when an expectation is met or unmet, it's just a fact. It doesn't cause a big reaction or take any of your capacities. So that's that column, and those are the things you can use it for. It's all about causing. Chapter 6 is all about causing ourselves to be who we are committed to be. And I have found that once you learn how to connect the dots between your needs or requirements, and the capacities that you have and how long they last, you can literally apply it to something that you can't recall ever having been, but you want to be able to be that. So you can play with the information until you discover, oh my gosh, wait a second. I was gracious. That's not something I'd ever describe myself as. I was gracious. Okay. How did I end up gracious? What did I do before that moment? What did I do? Oh my gosh. It was my first day in the swimming pool at the gym. I was pretending I was a dolphin. I wasn't swimming like normal people. I was playing in the water. And I ended up gracious. Whoa. I want to be that. Okay, I'm going to do that some more. And then I'm going to find out how else do I end up that way. You can be anything, truly. You don't have to have been born that way. And you don't have to practice a lot. You can just connect the dots, play the game.
Awesome. Brooke has a question.
I see that. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, I really appreciate this holistic welcoming as an example of how to release this when we get wiped out, or to compensate it, or to prepare for it, or whatever. Do you have more of those?
So, holistic welcoming is one of the Sedona methods. So Sedona, like Sedona, Arizona.
Mhm.
And we teach 3 of those methods in our course called Extreme Freedom, and in Lux. We use them in Lux to release needs that people betray themselves over. Like people betray themselves in order to get and preserve respect.
Yeah.
What if you didn't need respect? Then you wouldn't betray yourself for it anymore. So in Lux, we do a release on being respected and not being respected. We do a release on being understood and needing to understand. We do a release on being seen and not being seen, being supported and not supported. So these things that are what we call, they're part of what I call a process of honoring, which we teach in Lux, and it starts with honoring yourself. We use those. But you can go to the Sedona method, sedonamethod.com, and Hale Dwoskin, who has given me permission to use and teach Sedona methods in anything that I do. He is, honestly, he's the only person I know who's more free than I am. And free is my highest value. So, and I mean, his degree of freedom is light years beyond mine. And so the chance to be around him or do a retreat with him, or he does them online, or sign up to get a new release every day for a year and just play with the releases. It's his genius. It's his absolute genius. So I definitely recommend go to the source of those things, because they're magical. Yeah. Yeah, I did a release this morning. I have a buddy and we do Sedona releases 3 days a week. And because that's how committed I am to being free. And Wednesdays, I do releases on attachments and aversions. And it's amazing. It's amazing how much less I am thrown off.
Yeah.
Out of balance because of releasing so many attachments and aversions. I can just be with stuff. And
this is exactly what I've been looking for. Since we had some summer vacation, just wrecks of like, wow, I got completely whatever. Just I say like my life force taken out, right? So building these freedom tanks, and I guess this is retraining our brain to know how to do it differently when these are just like innate things that we are all as humans dealing with. Wanting to attachment or having all.
well, it's actually it's not as hard as training.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's actually fooling our minds. Because it makes a big deal out of things. And so we fool it into letting go. So if you know the statement, what you resist persists, which is one of the fundamental principles of transformation, welcoming is the opposite of resisting. And a term we use in another part of our work, called collapsing your space, we collapse who we are by picturing or thinking that we can't handle it.
Mhm.
I can't handle this. This is too big for me. And then we're not ourselves anymore. Well, if you welcome something, you have to be bigger than it to welcome it.
Mm.
Okay, does that make sense? So
Mhm.
it's the opposite of resistance and it's the opposite of collapsing. So, so I have this on the stand of my computer. Can you see it?
Yes. I welcome attachments, aversions, preferences, prejudices, expectations, everything. Welcome it. Bring
And it even says everything's.
everything.
I didn't write that on purpose. Then when I saw it, I thought, oh, that's perfect. Everything's. So yeah, like it's especially good if you feel like sad and you're trying to be not sad. Try to just welcome being sad. And just welcome it, welcome it, welcome it, welcome it. And then the next thing you know, you're off doing your life and you forgot sadness. It just disappeared. You can welcome anger, you can welcome frustration, you can welcome hatred, you can welcome anything. And okay, welcome that. Okay, I welcome that. I welcome that. Welcoming, welcoming, welcoming. Bring it on, bring it on. Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. And you know, Hale would say releasing is natural for human beings. And you'll see me in Lux if you do Lux, talk about, okay, the end of the exercise, set the intention to continue releasing. And releasing is like farting. It's easier to fart than to not fart. And there's never an easier time to fart than while you're sleeping. So so you might wake up your partner or yourself, but yeah, you can literally set the intention for things to keep releasing and then notice, oh, wow, it disappeared completely when I wasn't looking.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's way better. It's way better than training. It's more like tricking.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm looking at the clock. We're doing great. Thanks for asking, Brooke. I'm gonna, okay, so nobody has their hand up, so I'm gonna answer an emailed question. And then let's see. So there were 3 of them. So number 3 was, can you speak to women's need for merchandise, clothes, shopping? It seems like they tend to meet those needs before the last possible moment. Yeah, most of our needs, we meet them at the last possible moment. If you think of gathering and the rhythmic hand motion, it's soothing to us. And knowing that we have plenty of something is something that can have us feel less fearful. So our gathering instincts actually cause us to go shopping and spend money to feel safer. And they'll override that, say we're using a credit card. Like that need to feel safe, that tension and that need to feel safe by going out and getting more of whatever we think we don't have enough of. Like, remember beginning of COVID, toilet paper, whoosh, all off the shelves. And so it can actually cause a vicious cycle, right? So when we're afraid about money, we tend to spend money. And it's mystifying to our partners why we did that. You didn't need more of that. They don't understand the instinct and how much it calms us. So fear will have us do that. Merchandise, clothes, shopping. Yeah, it's vicious. Okay, answered the pod question about taking by. So this one, this is someone who couldn't be here today. What do you do when listening for the well? I call it waiting for the well, goes on an extra long time, so much so that it seems it's never going to end. And though you are being patient, you feel yourself getting to a place wondering, what's the point? Is there a way to politely have them wrap it up without them feeling unheard or rejected? Okay, so a couple of things here. So we distinguish waiting for the well. That is the counting to 30 and counting to 30 and counting to 30 and counting to 30. Listening to learn is, we haven't, did we teach that yet? Or is that coming up? No, that's coming up in chapter 7. Kimberly's gonna learn. She's gonna learn listening to learn in chapter 7. So how we listen, the question we're listening with matters. And we'll teach listening to learn in chapter 7. We pay a lot of attention to how we listen in Lux. And it would solve the what's the point. If you're listening to learn, like we teach in chapter 7, it doesn't, how you're listening will displace listening, what's the point? And yes, is there a way to politely have them wrap it up? So a couple of things about this. One is, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to interrupt. I'm sorry. There's something I need to get done now. Thank you for sharing all that with me. Maybe we can pick this up another time. And we tend to wait for people to agree to that. And then they might keep talking. Don't wait for agreement. I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to go now. I hope we can do this soon. Mwah, mwah, bye. If you look for them agreeing to what you say you have to do, well, do you have to do it or not? It's a mixed message. But anytime, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry if I'm interrupting. I have to interrupt. And then the other thing that happens, this happens to all our graduates, and it can happen to men when they learn how to hold the trash for a woman emptying their basket. So you'll hear me say, we all have the right to defend ourselves. We all have the right to set ourselves up to win. And so whether you say it ahead of time, like I have an extra 20 minutes here, and you had started to talk about why you love golf so much. And if you're willing to say more about that in the next 20 minutes, I'd love to hear. And then if they want to, they will, and you can listen to learn as you'll learn in the next chapter. And you'll find out all kinds of things you didn't know about that person. It's like a treasure hunt. So you can set it up ahead of time. If a woman's asking, could you hold the trash? I could empty my basket. Yeah, I can hold it for 10 minutes, get all the biggest chunks out. And another side of that is something to watch out for, which is, and we talk about this in Understanding Women, and I think I talked about this before, Paige, precise reciprocity. So for women, one way of showing appreciation is reciprocity, and it's precise reciprocity. So I listen to you for a half an hour. How you appreciate that is you listen to me for a half an hour. Men don't have that. I would say very few men do. They have a different way of showing appreciation that I would call take and use. So they eat the sandwich, they appreciate it. You're listening to them, they're talking. That's how they're appreciating that you're listening, they're talking. And so they don't understand. It's not obvious to them, and we think it is obvious that you should listen to me as long as I listen to you. So I had to tell my husband when he spent an entire date complaining about his job, and I realized the next week I didn't want to go out with him. I first of all said, I need a turn. I need a turn. I need to be heard as well. And if you're going to take a date to complain about your job, then I'd rather go to the movies than go to dinner with you. Oh, it's so funny. But he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I will make it up to you. And he literally did. I mean, for the rest of our lives together, when we go on a road trip, after we were underway, he turned to me and say, it's still your turn. And he always paid attention to it. He was mortified of that. So that's something we can ask. So say you're on a date and you're listening to learn and you're waiting for the well, and this man is telling you all these things about you, and he's not asking any questions of you, which is normal for them to not ask questions. But you could interrupt. Excuse me, sorry to interrupt, but as you know, I need to be home alone by 10 o'clock. So I think that means we have about a half an hour left together. And there's some things I want you to know about me. Could I tell you now? Oh, sure. What do you want me to know about you? Because that's how men operate. If they want me to know, they'll tell me. And they think asking questions is prying. So they don't ask questions, and we have to teach them to ask questions, because that's a way to show interest, which is a way to allow us to connect, which is a way to have us feel safe, help us feel safe. Okay, I think I covered all of that.
Yeah,
What?
I love this part. I learned this years ago from you, and it changed my life, because I felt like when I first started dating again after the divorce, I felt like I didn't want them to pay, because then I'd owe them something. Like there's this reciprocity that is just so, like, if I bring a meal to a friend, then I just know that we always kind of, like, it's almost this game of like, can I do a little bit more? Because there's so much that women will reciprocate, right? And so with men, I kind of just assumed that was the game. And when I learned this, and I learned that all they need is gratitude, and for me to just be happy and grateful, then that was almost the payment. And then I could receive so much more abundantly from the masculine. And it didn't have to be this reciprocity that is just natural with women. So this is a total game changer for me. Like, I'm able to receive so much more just because of this one principle. It's really cool.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, who else has questions? Even if you're afraid it's a stupid question.
What's coming up for you?
Go ahead and raise your hand.
I'll invite you to unmute.
Julia usually asks a question. I'm counting on you, Julia.
I'd love to hear some men too.
What?
Okay. The only thing that's coming up for me is, what if you ask for what you need, going through the processes that you've outlined, and the response is they don't agree with you? Like, well, I don't think that's something you need. And even though you're describing this is what it provides for me, what if they get a little defensive and like, well, that you don't need that.
Right.
How would you respond?
So there's two different ways of relating to it depending on the context of the relationship. So if this is a man who has been providing what you need or what he thinks you need, he provides for you. If he says that, that's often a defensive reaction to his fear that he can't provide it. What do you need that for? It is often like, oh shit. So so that's why it's even more important to, okay, well, I know that it will provide this. And if you're not willing to meet this need, then I'll do what I can to figure out other ways to meet it. But I have enough history with this to knowing that if you do that, I get to do that. So is there anything that I could provide for you that would help you be able to provide that for me? And sometimes what you do, Julia, if you know someone is sensitive that way, like they have really limited amount of time and energy and money, this is classic for Middle Prince, for example, it's all dedicated to what they're building. You can actually start the sentence that way. So there's something I want to ask you for. And before we'd be done with this conversation, I'd find out if you're willing to give it to me, what do you need from me to be willing to give it to me? So just so you know, so in case you get worried, just think, is there anything I could provide for you that have you be able to provide this for me? So you can get ahead of it that way if it seems like it's going to, things go that way. Now, that would be in the context where you know someone cares about what you need. If, for example, and I teach this in Dating with Distinctions, I tell men and women, present a need before you ever spend any effort to get together in person. I mean, you might have met in person, but before you're going to do it again, express a need. Whether it's a need for a certain type of food, it's a need to be home at a certain time, like Claudia and Kimberly were doing their mock thing. Express a need. If you're using a dating app, what I need, so thank you for liking me, and I'm interested in you too. What I need next is for us to set up a time to talk. And I tell a whole bunch more about that in Dating with Distinctions, but just expressing that need to set it up, please text me. How someone reacts to you stating a need in those early stages is critical, because it reveals what kind of attraction is at play. And if it's just physical attraction for a man, or perhaps economic attraction for a woman, oh, I like this man's net worth, it can have us not care about the person and not care about what they need. Like Jack expresses in chapter 6, you changed me. You made me care. And so the type, it doesn't mean someone's a bad person. It just means the type of attraction's insufficient for something of the quality most people want. So if you say, I need this, and someone just ignores that you wrote that and keeps messaging you for something, disconnect. Messaging is not good for women. We're profoundly affected by text messages and by letters and emails. The amount of oxytocin, the bonding it causes, it's not good for us. So get out of that zone as quickly as you can. But when you state what you need and somebody acts like you didn't say anything, bad, the end. If you say what you need and someone attacks it, what do you need that for? The end. Just the end. You do not want weeks, months, or decades of someone who doesn't trust your knowledge of yourself. Someone who's so arrogant, they think they know better than you. And it's always a problem with human beings because we project needs onto other people. And then we provide what we've decided they need. And it's really disrespectful. And if you don't interrupt it early, right? Hello, you and I just met, and I'm stating that I need something. And I know about 1 million times more about me than you do. So, wow, are you arrogant or rude? Or is that just a knee-jerk reaction? Oh, well, aren't you just a controlling little miss? Goodbye. The end. And I teach the same thing to men. If a woman disregards something you say you need, I need to not be contacted, between these hours. Don't call or message me between these hours. I'm working, I'm focused, I have a whole company depend upon me. If she disregards that, the end. She's more driven by her instincts to connect than by her respecting what you said you require. Not a good foundation. Just stop. Do not pass go. And if you are giving her chance after chance, you have a lot of sexual attraction and you're going to keep being an idiot. And you'll spend money you don't have. And you'll end up in a hole, and your friends are trying to keep you from doing this. Okay, that's my spiel about that. All right. Anne, you have your hand up. Thanks, Julia.
Hi. So
Hi there.
I jumped on late because I completely, missed the ball here, but I had a question. I'm not sure if someone's asked something similar, so please cut me off if it's already been asked.
Yeah.
But so my question that I wrote down, so don't forget, is there a way to help facilitate, and I think this is from chapter 6, facilitate a man restoring his faith in specific needs being met? And like, how do you repair that if, something that's really important has kind of just been given up on?
Yeah, I got it. It's a great question. Nobody's asked it. Use everything in chapter 6. So if you weren't here for that part in the beginning, please watch the whole video. Chapter 6 is worth reading and listening to over and over and over again. It's gold. And the trick is consistency, which I did bring up earlier. So one is acknowledging, I understand that you need this. I apologize. I didn't treat it with the degree of importance that it merits. Can we make a deal? Can we make a deal where I'm doing my part of helping you get this need met? And then after we make the deal and implement the deal, let's check back on how's it going. And that's one of the most important parts. It's important for clarity. It's important for partnership. It's important for actually the bullseye. I want to hit the bullseye. And so you're looking for clues. You're looking for, okay, so you needed this to happen. So for you to take the girls to school, you needed them to be in the car at 8 o'clock without you having to cause that. You needed me to cause it. They were in the car and then you could take them to school and I didn't have to take them to school. So how'd that go this morning? This was day 1. How did it go? And then you just listen for how did it go? And it's not going to be all rainbows and unicorn. Well, they were in the car, but one of them didn't have her shoes. The other didn't have her homework. And the other didn't have her lunch. So we had to go back inside and start all over. And so we didn't leave until almost a quarter after. Okay. Got it. Okay, so let me make a checklist here. So they need their homework, their lunches, their sweaters, their shoes. Okay, she's going to need her backpack. She has to take her doll everywhere. Okay, all right. Anything else? Anything else they might forget? Because, you've given them a lot of rides and had to come back and get stuff. Anything else? Okay, let's put this right here by the door. Well, it'll be check, check, check. It's all in the car. Okay, try it again tomorrow morning. Okay, I'll try again tomorrow morning. Thanks for giving us another try. Then you try again. And you keep checking. Okay, how did it go? How did it go? Are you willing to try again? Are you willing to try again? Until I had to do this only it was 3 o'clock in the morning, all 3 kids in the car in order to go on a road trip. And I mean, you should have seen me when we pulled out 7 minutes before we were supposed to leave. I'm like, yes. So that's how you do it. It's about consistency. It's about clarity. It's about that you keep expressing, I'm for this. You keep looking at what do I need in order to be able to cause this. You treat it like a new muscle. You're putting a whole new routine into your life. And whether it's transition time that you're going to honor for them, or it's taking over something they've been accountable for, or asking them to take over something, whatever it is, it's all the same components. Does that help? Yes. You're back
A big
on
yes.
Wonderful. Yay!
Very
Okay.
good.
Try it and report back if you can. Okay, awesome. All right. Can we take Victoria's question?
I
And
got
then-
Judy off mute if you want to take her, and then we'll take Vic
Okay.
after.
Okay, Judith? Or is it you go by Judy?
I go by both.
Okay.
Judith is great. It's a question, it's going backwards a little bit, but it actually falls in this category about dangerous men
Okay.
and starting new relationships. And when you find that you have a threat intolerance, or, you know, have been in a place where it's been dangerous, how do you really get information to know whether a man is just leading you down a nice track and then they're going to change in, you know, when it becomes a committed relationship, or what are the distinctions, I guess, of a date?
Have you listened to Unhealthy Men, The Secrets of Early Detection?
No. Unhealthy.
Have you watched When is Narcissism Real?
No, because when I went to your website to find these things, I couldn't find them. So maybe I just not going to the right place.
Okay.
I'll send the links out again on the email this week.
Okay, thanks, Paige.
No problem.
The thing to do, Judith, is on the main menu, right across the top, the navigation, whatever they call it, it says free. And just put your mouse and hover on free.
Okay.
And it'll drop down to the most important things I want people to participate in. And on that list, you'll see Unhealthy Men, The Secrets of Early Detection, and you'll see When is Narcissism Real? And if you click on either one of those, you're going to go to the page that has When is Narcissism Real stacked above Unhealthy Men. The boom, boom, right there. And so that will give you a bunch of information. And most importantly for everybody, this goes back to the conversation about stating a need early on and see how they respond. And so another resource you might want to take advantage of is called Making Sense of Men. And it takes about 4 hours to read it. It's the only nonfiction actual book that I ever published. And it distinguishes between the kind of attraction that has a man, even a good man, just be in a mode of wanting to take from you, versus the kind of attraction that has a man want to give to you, to take care of you, to contribute to you. And being able to tell the difference is critical. And unfortunately, our instincts don't have us pay attention to this. In fact, our instincts have us do the opposite of what matters. So when a man is, we call it charmed and enchanted, when a man is emotionally, mentally, maybe spiritually attracted to you, as well as physically attracted to you, that's the combination that you're looking for. Because then he both has the juice, sexual attraction, which they need to generate romance, and he has all of the modifiers. So sexual attraction causes taking, but then he has all the modifiers of wanting to take care of you and protect you, even from his own desire. And these are things to pay attention to. I call it due diligence, to pay attention to over time. Like, people, in my assessment, people commit way too fast. We have not gathered enough evidence that this person can give us what we need in all the circumstances that we really need them, in order to be better off being with them than without them. And I mean, Dan and I are, in October, it'll be 3 years since we committed to this exclusive exploration. And I still have not committed to any more. I'm not giving up my vote. I get to keep discerning. Am I getting what I need? Do I get to give what I need to give? Are we a good fit? Do we take good care of each other? Are we both better off by being together? And there's things that I need that he hasn't fulfilled yet. He's working away with them. Some of them are going to take a lot longer, like maybe another year even for it to show up. So I'm in love with him. I adore him, but I'm not giving up any rights.
That sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we commit way too soon, and watch for something. I talk about this in Dating with Distinctions. Men do a version that looks like commitment, that I call dibbing. So one of the things that y'all are in danger of, because of what you've taken on with not emasculating men and learning the hero language and embodying this, is you're in danger of blowing men's minds and causing a possession reaction. Oh my God, she's magnificent. I got to have her be mine. She's got to be mine. And we think that's commitment. It's not commitment. No, commitment is after seeing your best and your worst, seeing what you can provide and what you can't provide. And then, okay, yep, I've walked all the way around this car. I've looked it up inside and out and under the hood, and I see the warts and I see the wonder, and I want it all exactly as she is. That is commitment for a man. And that takes more time. So watch out being swept up. We're so swept up by the fantasy of commitment that we misjudge possession as commitment, the desire to possess something magnificent. That's not commitment.
Good. That's really good. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Okay, Victoria doesn't look like a Victoria anymore, but so happy to get to talk to you. Is this Victoria?
Oh,
So this is
her
John's husband. Usually I just go by Victoria's husband.
Ah, but did you say John?
Jonathan. Yeah.
Jonathan. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi. So one of the things that I guess we're both realizing, but I'll just speak for myself, is realizing that, and this may be an oversimplification, but one of the reasons why I love the program or this, discussion is that it sort of fits into a formulaic, something that you can respond and reply and, apply and learn and apply again and learn more. And so it's a bit of a formula. But the question that I'm sort of shying away from is that sometimes we find, each of us, or sometimes just one of us, that we sort of actually fit into the other role where, the response is more like, well, I'm actually having a response or fitting into the role of, the sort of female role as opposed to the male role. And it's vice versa. And I'll just speak for my own self, is that my wife, sometimes she doesn't respond when we're kind of in that flipped role. She won't respond as a man, though. She'll still respond as woman. And so I don't where like go with that. So my question is sort of two-part, is like any advice on that, and the other one is like, is that normal? Or I guess I don't know if there is a normal, but that's what I'm sort of finding. And so for me, in my, it's a little perplexing because it doesn't fit the formula.
Yes. Yes, and yes. So I love that you see the formulaic quality. I definitely speak math, and at our partnership level, I call it building the Golden Gate Bridge. It's it's higher math. Partnership is higher math, and the Queen's Code is the introduction to math. It's the numbers and what happens if you add and subtract and multiply them. And I am logical to a fault and pragmatic. I can't not be. So yes. Yes, it's something that you can work over and over and over again and get better and better and better at. And that's one of the things that's addictive about it. And yes, it's normal. It's normal for within a couple, within a family, that men and women don't entirely fit what we project onto them. And it's because gender isn't the only thing happening. So, for example, one of the things that human beings do is, in every situation where something has to happen, human beings will assess who's the most capable of causing this. So I call it power more and power less. Who has more power? And so they're the ones that's going to, save everybody, and who has less power. So they're not going to be in charge, but they could support the person who has more power. And this happens so fast, assessing power more or power less. And if someone assesses themselves as power more, even if they don't want to be in charge, as a good person, they'll feel obligated. Like, oh, I guess I got to make this happen then. And someone who assesses power less, okay, well, I got to support the person who's going to make this happen. And often this is happening with no conversation. These assessments are happening. Someone starts acting, someone starts to here, let me help you carry that. The other person's like, no, it's perfectly balanced. Don't take anything from me. And we end up with all these like, where we're thinking we're helpful. We're thinking people want us to provide. There's something I call the unwilling, the reluctant hero. Everybody thinks they're the person that's going to save us all. And they're like, why are you looking at me? Not me. So that kind of assessment, without us thinking about it, without us talking, people will just take over things and other people will step back. And the assessment could come from, I have more knowledge, I have less knowledge, but I have way more time. You don't have enough time to do this. I have more time. So it's the power of time. I have more technology. I have more resources. I have more fill in the blank. So the assessment of ability could be based on factors, again, unspoken. And this literally will change our mindset. And this is why, and this is one of the things that I wrote down to tell you guys, in the Queen's Code, Claudia talks about masculine and feminine. And I thought about changing those words, but there are too many people around the world who need those words. That actually gives them access to something very powerful for them. And how I speak about those things has evolved. So I went from masculine and feminine to hunter and gatherer, to hunting mode and gathering mode, to a committed state of mind and an open state of mind. And we're all on a spectrum of open to committed, and we can change. So when a man isn't committed to producing a result, he's in an open state of mind, and he perceives differently, he responds differently, he acts completely different. And then once he commits, he changes to the other way. It's very confusing for women. Wait, you were just so playful and fun, and we were having the best time singing, and now you're like, come on, everybody, get out of the car. Oh, we arrived. You changed. You're now producing a result of getting everybody in the house, even though it's raining. Okay, that's where I lost the guy I was having fun singing with. So these things will just change us. And in understanding women, we talk about women in hunting mode versus gathering mode, and that we can get changed. We're changed involuntarily. And then most women are trying to be both. We're in this hell between focus, a focused state of mind, and an open state of mind. We're trying to focus while our mind is still open and bringing in all these distractions while we're trying to get something done. So we don't have the peace of single focus, nor the peace of diffuse awareness and plenty of time. And interpreting this, being able to see what's happening to Victoria, that's what understanding women is about. Okay, how is she moving her body? Okay, she's committed. All right, so let me see if I can support her. What were the things Alison said to say? Or, oh, now look how she's moving. Side to side. She's more flowy. Okay, she's in the open state of mind. She's in the gathering mode. So that means, that means I have to interact with her like this. And so I one of my favorite places I got to pay attention to this is one of my dearest friends is gay. And she and her wife one would be the provider and the other would be the receiver, depending on which part of the house it was. In the kitchen, Jill was accountable. She ran the show. She provided dinner. She needed support. In the TV room, Mercer's in charge of all the technology. She's the one that made it all work, got everything going, the night's entertainment, and she needed support. And they literally, depending on the room in the house, they would switch from who was providing and who was receiving. And it's just normal human behavior. There's nothing wrong with it. The thing to pay attention to, Jonathan, is in each situation, what do you want to be? If you had it all your way in this situation, you would get to what? You would get, is there something you're wanting to be accountable for that she's taking over that actually would be your self-expression? If you got to do that, then that's something to do this clarification with, like I was talking to Anne about. So yes, it's still formulaic. It's just more calculus than algebra. We have some sine curves going on. Does that make sense, Jonathan? Yeah. I can't have you unmute again, but Paige can. Do you have a follow-up question?
No, I didn't have a follow-up question. I think there's lots to think about and practice.
Yeah, practice and even play. The need to succeed at something is its own tension, it's its own pressure. And if you can play with this, let's play with, let's make a deal if I had it on my way. Let's play with talking about who's accountable here for the result and who's going to support, or what part are you accountable for and what part am I accountable for? And there's all kinds of dynamics that you can change. And as a couple with Let's Make a Deal, and I go through this in Celebrating Partnership, you can actually like start in your morning. You wake up. Okay, do you like how that works? And then what happens? Okay, are we more in love after that? Or are we already at odds with each other? Like, you just keep looking at ordinary life and how you do it together, and which parts have you be more appreciative of the other person and so glad that you're with them, and which parts like, oh, that should burst the love bubble. And then those things that aren't part of the upward spiral, that aren't part of being more and more in love and having more and more respect and admiration for each other, let's change them. If you had it all your way, how would bedtime go with our 10 kids? Or whatever it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Cool. All righty. Paige, there's 4 minutes. Do you
I love
have
it. Oh,
say
thank
that
you
Mary's
so
got
much. My mom has a quick question, and then I have an announcement at the end. So,
okay.
Mom, I've asked you to unmute. Go ahead and unmute.
Thank you. I am Paige's mom and Jonathan's mother-in-law.
Oh my gosh.
I have 5 daughters, Allison.
Wow.
There's been times in my life where I have felt more like a queen than I do now.
Okay.
I'm 69, so I'm almost 70.
Yay.
I really wanted to thank you for you and Paige putting the effort and the expertise and the energy and the love into this course. And my question is, it's hard to know what my question is because I kind of am at a stage where I don't exactly know what I want except freedom and good health and prosperity. And those are my high values. So I think what I want is just to thank you and Paige sincerely and thank the other 5 sisters and their husbands and tell you that we'll continue to re-listen in our family here. And
Awesome.
that's it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Gratitude.
For the thing that you started with, Mary, that you might want to notice in an earlier time in your life where you identified feeling more like a queen, who could you be? See if you can identify the qualities that you were being, and are those qualities that still express who you are now? Or are you transitioning to a different set of qualities? And then you would figure out what you need in order to be able to be that. And if some of them are the same, okay, well, what did I used to do that allowed me to embody that? Would that still work given my current capacities, right? Like walking in nature fills so many of my tanks. Well, with a bruised heel, I can't go very far right now. So I'm having to figure out other ways to get access to that. So I just wanted to say that because of what you said, and thank you for your appreciation, and you're really welcome. And I'll see you all next week at our regular time. And KJ, I can't take another question. I have to be somewhere at the bottom of the hour, which is why this whole thing was happening an hour earlier, was for me. But I'll be with you next week, and I'll have a bit of extra time, Paige, where we can answer questions for people about what's next for them. I know we're going to talk on Friday about it, but I can take some extra time to answer questions about that besides the content of chapter 7 and chapter 8.
Very wonderful. Thank you so much, Alison. If you can stay on for just a couple more minutes, I have a couple announcements, but thank you, everyone. Just send your love to Alison, your gratitude. Have an amazing day, Alison. Okay, so she's off. I want to just share next week, we're going to be going over chapters 7 and 8, and then we're going to be sharing about how to move forward, and you can ask questions there, but I'm going to ask that you continue and do one more pod meeting to go over any final things or just shares, and then the next week we're going to have a 6th meeting at the same time, 11 Mountain Standard Time. And it's just going to be with me and this group, but I'm going to have you just share your wins. I want everyone to just share what you got out of it and stuff. And then I'll also answer questions about how to move forward and that kind of thing. So we'll have more time for people that are just looking at how they want to move forward, whether it's with a live event that Alison and I do, or just moving forward into different just programs that Alison has or that I have going on. So there will be, if you can put on your calendar the Wednesday after next week, then that would be fantastic. And then if you want to just stay on for about 10 more minutes, we'll talk to KJ about her question and just we always have kind of a lively discussion afterwards if you want to stay on. But otherwise, we'll see you next week. And remember, your pods are so everyone in your pod has benefited from you showing up. So if you can be in touch with your pod leader and be there for your pod, that'll be fantastic. It is a time for you to really, like, I feel like the involvement, this is a lot of listening to Alison, but the personal involvement that you get from your pods is really beneficial. You'll get so much more out of the course and the chapters if you participate in that. So anyway, that's what my announcements are. Thank you so much for just being here and playing full out. And I just love seeing all of you on here. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording and then we can get into KJ's question and everyone's conversation.